Welcome to Season 4 of the Party Poker Premier League Poker from the M Resort in Las Vegas. Our final lineup is nearly complete with players such as Phil Hellmuth, Daniel Negreanu, JC Tran, Tony G, and Vanessa Russo all preparing to play. But there's still one space left to be filled by one of our Party Pro team players, and tonight we find out who makes the final 12.
The Party Poker Pros are some of the very best players from around the world, and they all want a place in this year's Premier League lineup. Ian the Razor Fraser has an incredible record, winning back-to-back TV titles. He has played this event twice before, but is yet to be crowned Premier League champion.
They're all good guys, but they're not going to win, and that's it, basically. End of.
Frenchman Remy Bichel has over $840,000 in lifetime live tournament winnings. He won the €5,000 side event at EPT Monte Carlo 2009. Felipe Ramos is an aggressive young professional poker player from Sao Paulo who had a final table appearance at the World Series of Poker in 2009.
It's going to be really tough to play against them, and I hope I can catch some good cards and play really good. If I can play my best, I guess I have a chance to play equal to equal against all of them.
Bodos Brezny shot to fame by winning bundles of cash at the Party Poker Big Game in 2009 when he made some massive bluffs against some of poker's biggest players. Mike Sexton is one of the world's most successful poker players. He's also an author, commentator, and promoter, and he is the newest inductee to the Poker Hall of Fame.
Beating the best in the best competition is what it's all about.
Dragan Galic from Croatia has almost $1 million in tournament winnings. He heads up the European rankings and has a record number of cashes on the European Tour.
I'm scared to play against Felipe.
Don't say that.
Aces cracker.
No one expected it to be easy, eh?
This is the lineup for the Party Poker Pros Final, but only one of these players can progress through to the main event. The players had accumulated points in the heat stages, which were then translated into chips at the final table. It was Felipe Ramos who had the chip lead, and he was a big force at the table, strengthening his position in the early stages. Remy Bichel made some surprising moves and went on to knock out Mike Sexton, one of the biggest names on the felt. Now, the final continues to play out, and these are how the chips are stacked. Felipe Ramos still the chip leader with nearly 569,000. Bodos Brezny's not far behind, but the big mover has been Remy Bichel. Galic still has some work to do.
Bringing you the action from the final stages is Jesse May alongside Premier League player Roland de Wolf.
It's been a battle royale, and judging by the play so far, any of these five would be a worthy addition to the Premier League main event. But the blinds now at 7 and 15,000. Short stacks ain't hanging.
Fold. How'd you work that? Fold. Fold.
No, that's 100.
A raise.
Raise.
100. That's 20, 40, and 90.
All in wouldn't be too much.
Raise to 30, 37,000 total.
But Dragon's going to play it another way. And that might be enough for Felipe.
All in.
Oh.
This is the decision Dragon didn't really want to face.
What should I start? 160, yes. 160.
Folding might seem like giving up equity here.
No, I don't do that.
Fold.
But he's found a way to pass. Survivor, Dragan Galic. Now there is nothing for fourth, third, or second. But Dragon is not going to panic. And Dragan Galic finds himself in the unenviable position of having only 10 big blinds. Remy Bichel, who hasn't had much in the way of cards, has really been impressive and put a pounding on Ian Fraser to knock him to 4th out of the 5th players. Bichel's come over the top of Ramos, 5 times this evening. Ramos folded all but one. And that's when he reshoved.
Raise to 37,000.
Probably the two most exciting hands of this final table so far have been the 4-bet. And for Bichelle to, I don't know, Roland. I mean, certainly re-raising's an option. The fact is, he's got like 25 big blinds. I mean, is going all in too much? He's going to get himself in big trouble if he does. This could be the end of Remy.
Raise.
We know what's about to happen.
A total of 100,000.
I just wonder if he
Re-raise.
can just find a way to get away from this. It shouldn't be too difficult. Ramos just seems to be getting the right cards in the right spot.
If he calls here, his rhythm will be so wrong against Ramos. I mean, folded the queens when he was in a race. The call here dominated for his tournament life.
Yes.
Premier League. Almost wonder, I mean, they took a short break, second hand back, if Bichelle didn't really think things through.
Yeah, I was 100 outside of it.
Was that a situation where actually just trying to keep the pot small and calling pre-flop might have been the best bet? Or is it just because we know the cards?
I mean, you have to realize that when you're betting a7 there, you're betting any two.
Every reason to expect that in the next 20 hands we'll lose 2 players. I'm not saying who. But there's just not that many chips in play anymore.
I'm all in.
All in.
What's up with that? I don't know. Is that kind of backwards? Aren't you looking for someone to come over the top of you with that hand?
I mean, sometimes it's counterintuitive. Like you want to seem weaker by just open shoving.
150.
You want to make a smaller raise for strength, but you know it can also mean the opposite for him. You know, it's bigger raise, bigger hand.
He thinks he might get a call off of ace 10 here, or ace jack, or ace 9.
Yeah, and whereas sometimes with those weaker aces,
Oh, sorry.
people aren't going to reshove.
I hate this hand. I hate it. I hate it. It's a terrible hand.
It's just it's like rock paper scissors, like you say.
But
How's that going for you, that rock, paper, scissors? You still laying odds to anyone who will play you?
It's better than nothing.
I mean, the action's
Yeah.
kind of dried up.
Ace queen suit. It's not so bad, but I hate it. That's the reason I push. And when I lose with this hand, I don't want to think about it.
Ramos folding the ace 6. Definitely,
Made me fold a pair.
I guess, an opinion that the short stacks behind them are looking
Now
to
you
sort of
had a pair?
reshove.
No, the previous. Previous one you raised.
Raise.
Oh, when you fold. Okay.
34,000.
And this obviously looks tempting. Is it a mirage here?
I don't think it is a mirage.
Last hand it was a little bit better.
Baker's been opening light.
Was a pair.
It's a sort of hand though that you could just call with. I mean, Ian doesn't really
Ace
have enough
queen
chips
is
to
a
just
bad
call,
hand.
but it is the sort of hand where
Had ace king, so
Because he's in position
it's
if he
a
flops
hand where
well.
you can
yeah.
flop. You can flop well.
not good for me to.
And he could get the stack in way ahead instead of.
Middle pair.
Fold.
It's a sort of quite
And fold.
a hand that rather unlike ace 10 where you know you. It's
But
more
I'm
confusing.
short,
King
like
Jack, you can often just like
170
you can
or
make
I
a
don't
nice
know.
top pair on the flop, and
It's not a lot.
it becomes
Double up
fairly
to
clear how you're going to
Yeah,
play
when
a
I
hand
double up, it's okay.
like this.
Check.
That's just what the doctor ordered. Anyway, that
But you
Barney
pushed me the
Boatman
last
theory I
time
was telling you
before.
about is that
Well
when
then.
someone calls your
much
raise,
better than
they
that.
almost never have a king.
Oh right, yeah. No, I'd still like to keep my subscription closed.
35,000.
They played a pot like this earlier, where Bichelle kind of raised, Fraser called, he missed the flop and check folded. It's a little bit similar. I mean, if he does raise all in here, Bichelle, he is going to get whopped. Wow. He's going to float it?
I just don't see how he can do anything else apart from fold.
Shove all in.
No, I think his fold is. I mean, he could just be thinking that Fraser's taking a stab at the pot because he's checked. Could think, you know, he thinks Fraser's probably going to be re-raising with a stronger ace than him. He's probably not going to be calling with an ace-6, so he kind of can rule out a lot of hands which contain an ace. That's the problem when you think the hand through. There aren't that many hands that Fraser can have. It often looks like to him even if Fraser has a big pair slow played, or I mean, he doesn't beat much from Fraser's calling range.
Big pot for Ian. Does things his way.
Up, down, like a roller coaster. We cancel the call.
It's difficult. Shaper play good.
He's not far from his peak, Fraser. I don't think he's ever had more chips than he started with.
Raise to 33,000. Fold.
33 is the raise de jour, or de level rigueur.
Fold.
You have seen the TGV? No?
I said before your TGV stopped, but I don't know what you said now.
When I first, started playing poker seriously about 6 years ago, then the old school always used to raise 3 times the big blind, and the new school used to raise 4 or 5 times the big blind. And over the most recent years, it's kind of reversed. So now the new school are raising 2.2.
Negreanu has no respect for people who raise 2.5 when they could be raising 2.4. Said that in one of his blogs.
Check.
Can Fraser win this? Well,
Check.
no.
It's not often that Ian Fraser's in a pot where he's got the haircut in a heads-up pot.
I mean, I just remember that when Bodo first came onto TV, I was thinking he might have the coolest hairstyle in all of poker.
This side of Jani Sointala.
Yeah. Hellraiser. Sort of the fact that Dragon Galich has hung around this long with no big blinds, maybe a testament to the fact that he really does care.
He really cares. Do you feel for him? I know I do.
I'm crazy about calling with the ace high, but you got to be willing to
140
silly
or
sometimes.
50 total. 150 total, I think.
This, according to that chart on the internet, this is a shove.
I haven't looked at many charts.
A net would move all in here.
Really?
Sure.
Check. Heads up.
Against 10 big
You don't want
blinds.
to give me a walk one time?
Good to watch.
Wow, it's kind of like such a big hand you could almost do whatever you want.
20,000. Fold.
Bodo obviously doesn't agree with the net either. You know, these guys, they've been playing quite a few number of hours, and you can see they're all looking a little bit tired, except for Fraser, who's just rolled up his sleeves like he's getting ready to work. I mean, did you ever see the movie The Hustler? Jackie Gleason used to powder his nails, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's what Fraser looks like right now. He's about ready to take him down.
He owns a yacht. Do you know that? He's been planning this from his yacht, like a James Bond villain.
This is called Goldfinger, though.
I think
But,
Eddie Hearn, the Matchroom Soprano, has been on it a few times.
Foul.
Remy is looking a little tired, and Fraser doesn't. Dennis woke up this morning, big breakfast, went down to the spa, had a massage. He's feeling like $1 million. That's a nice hand. Calling here would be a pretty big mistake, wouldn't it?
It would be a very big mistake, but he won't do it.
Re-raise. I'm all in. And all in.
Wow!
Re-raise and all in.
Yo, Ramos, what's
And a
up?
call. Re-raise went to 787.
Insta-call?
No, Ramos is shoved.
All in and a call.
Fraser re-raised it about 60 more, and Ramos just said all in. It's like the light switch went off in his house.
Roy.
Bodo passed a 7 as well, so he's not in good shape here.
Wow. So, has Ramos made a big hiccup or a small one?
Such a bad mistake. But
he's going to be down to 400K. Like Fraser's going to be chip leader in a second. Unbelievable.
Now I would prefer to have ace-king.
the Razor, Ian Fraser.
I am telling you.
He's bided his time, and now everything turned around.
How focused is he?
Premier League to me is the most exciting tournament throughout the year. The guys are just a lot of fun, and they're all like a bunch of kids. There's so many side bets going on. I'm frightened to get into a limousine with any of them because, you know, you sort of, the minimum bet that you're going to have is 10 grand. You know, I was in a car once, there was like 40 grand bets, 20 grand bets, so I always try and ride on my own, but to me, I mean, the whole setup of the Premier League, the structure, the characters, the players that are involved with it, is just absolutely fantastic. And if you're part of that, I mean, you get the hairs up the back of your neck constantly. You're never ever going to win every hand, but you can be right 99% of the times with your intuition. I play a lot with intuition, and you know, sometimes you're right and sometimes you're not, and just it's a real fine line between genius and donkey. The money's nothing. I would win it now and give you the money. It's not like I don't need the money. Everyone needs $500,000 or whatever it is that the winner gets. But I don't think about the money in any tournament I sit down and play. I just want to win.
Ian Fraser, he's not chip leader, but he's only a mere mouthful away. And for Ramos, still average stack, but how's he going to handle it?
All in.
It's about 130.
Don't feed the bear, and the bear right now, Ian Fraser. This is an interesting decision for Remy. Certainly, Dragon's range includes a bunch of hands that Remy dominates, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's well ahead of Remy's. He's well ahead of Dragon's range here. It's just a question of if he loses, he's giving up a lot of fold equity of himself. But I think he has to go with it.
Right.
All in. And a fold.
Yeah, I cannot call, but I would like to call.
Oh no, I don't want to show this card. Because I play
Ace queen?
10 cards up, gentlemen.
Hey Jack.
Ace jack is good.
Why you fold an ace? I don't want to show.
That's what I want.
Good luck.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, that is exactly what Dragon wants.
Yeah.
Race.
Killer for Dragon.
I think I'm a little bit dead.
Dragon killer. George.
He hit the 9 earlier.
2 outs again, yeah. Now it will be heavy
Yeah,
for
he hit
me.
the 1 out, and now he's
Never celebrate until
A
the
little
end.
bit higher, a little bit higher. Only, not too high, only a 5.
Well, the Dragon is slayed.
Just a 5, come on. Oh no, higher, not lower.
It hurts to go out, but these guys know the score, and the Party Pros have genuinely bonded over this week. Good game by Dragon Galich.
One time I play this
I'm
big
sure we'll be
pot,
seeing him again.
the guy is,
Just 4 for the ticket. And you know what? There's not that much in it. Both Fraser and Bichel a little pulling up by the bootstraps. Dragon Ramos down and kind of wide open. Bichel has played a lot more hands than the rest of them. The V-chip's significant.
Well, we've just lost Dragon from our pros heat. You were one of the most active players out there. Certainly you were making a few moves. Was that because it was an all or nothing, winner takes all structure here?
Yeah, that's true. You have to win this tournament here and to come to the last 12, and that's the thing. I play my style, but I'm a little bit unlucky now in the last hand. That's it.
The action continues after the break here at the M Casino in Vegas as the remaining 4 players battle it out for a seat in the Premier League.
Welcome back to the final table of the Party Poker Pros as we fill the final spot in the Premier League. Now over to your commentary team, Roland DeWolf and Jesse May.
What are the dynamics right now? How do you burst out of this pack 4-handed?
I mean, I think that the blinds are valuable because, everyone is up at about 30 plus big blinds. So
Raise 33.
it would be nice to separate yourself from the field.
Well, you said
But I think actually it becomes now the reshove, the re-raise becomes more important again. The raise goes down in value.
God, you beat me to it. It's just that's what you were saying before. It was the 2-bet. Now it is the 3-bet. Bichel, obviously, there's an instinct to call here. Is it a mistake?
I think at this stage you don't really have enough to be. I mean, it depends against two. I like to call a lot of the times at the late stages of tournaments, maybe not 4-handed, but with a few tables left at the World Series where there's weaker players. And if they want to raise me with like ace-5, then I'll play the pot with 9-8 to a raise, and they can play out of position with the, with their ace. It sort of protects yourself against that, but I don't think he's doing it for that reason.
And this is a little dangerous. They've both got a little something. Been very impressed with Bodo's post-flop play. If he bets this flop and gets called, you kind of gotta, you're gonna get in a spot where you gotta kind of keep going, right?
I mean, you can always take a free card if with the draw.
And even though Remy's betting here, I mean, it's a funny sort of bet because if it's not really a bet for value, is it? I mean, with the stacks this shallow?
Well, it is a bet for value because he believes his pair of 9s is probably good, and he can fold out, any other hands, worse hands.
Feels like both these guys would be happy to take their money back. Bodo's really thinking hard about this. $32K, is it cheap enough to call and still leave your options open for the river?
Cool.
Tell you what, the Queen of Hearts will be a nasty card.
A 7 or a 10 would be interesting. That's a good card for Remy. Obviously, it's a great card because he wins the pot, but it's also not a sort of card that he would be wanting. An ace might be a problem, or a 10 might be a problem. He's going to check. Well, he's going to check for sure.
And then it'll be a question of what Bodo decides to do.
Check.
I mean, among Bodo's options, what about the massive overbet bluff? You know, like
yeah, I mean, I think has a much higher chance of working, but it also has a much more of a downside if he's wrong.
Is it the only size bet that has a good chance of working?
No, I think, I mean, Bodo raised pre-flop. He could represent something like a pair of tens here, or a pair of queens, where he would check the king flop, not wanting to get check raised out. Now the way it's come down, he thinks he's good. He could have a jack, conceivably, which he hit on the turn.
77,000.
Remy doesn't like it at all. It's just what I was saying about that bet on the turn. I mean, is there an argument that bet on the turn kind of put him in this position where he was going to have to face a big bet on the river if there was going to be one?
I mean, I know what he was trying to do. I don't mind the bet on the turn at all. I don't think you can... I mean, he did have the pair to go with the draw, but I don't mind. You're building a pot, albeit without position.
Fold.
He's called.
No, he's passed.
No, he's passed.
Yeah, he passed.
Win only if you are the
Wow.
best queen.
Is that a turning point, a decisive
I
moment?
think so. Well, Bodo got it through.
Nice one.
And I don't know. I mean, is that a bit of a referendum on how things are very tricky when, even if it's a nice hand, when you call on the big blind?
Yeah, I mean, playing to the button out position is always
that
going to
hard
be
to
tough. I don't like it personally. I know some of the older school players like to defend their blinds rigidly,
Look
but
at my hand.
it's not my way of doing things.
I win only if you bluff.
Never has been. I've never defended my big blind ever.
Cool. Option.
Tell you, next time I ever play against Ian Fraser, if he limps from the small blind into my big blind, you just assume he's got an ace.
Check it. Check. $20,000.
Huh.
I think I've got quite a nice read on Bodo live. He doesn't seem that comfortable. He's giving away a little bit. I seem to pick up on it.
They're going to go up a level now. It's going to go 10 and 20. I mean, Bodo and Fraser they have pulled away.
They have, and they've got 25 big blinds, 30 big blinds. Ramos and Baker are short, but maybe they don't realise how short they are. It's 30,000 every 4 hands.
I mean, what's the plan here for Ramos and Remy? You know, aside from a kick in the backside, you know, they're a cattle prod or something. Well, they need to get in there and fight a little bit now, don't they? Like they were doing before.
They do. They need to open up their range of hands that they're moving in with. I think it's important for them. You know, you get the blinds twice. That's 60,000. You go from 260 to 320. It's not like hyper vital, but it's very, very important to keep getting them.
Fraser, he limps. He likes to sort of set this up, give the big blind all sorts of looks. And it is very difficult to raise him once he's limped from the small blind, because he's shown he can do it with all kind of hands, right?
Agreed.
$20,000.
Or do you think more like the devilfish, where if you are in the big blind against Fraser, you should raise with your very bad and very good hands?
Fold.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see... I like the very bad end and the very good end, but also some in the middle, so you balance your range. Because if people see that you're only doing very bad and very good, it will become exploitable.
He looks tired. I mean, he looks tired. He's going to have to just I think, take a minute, throw some water on his face, and remind himself how bad this is, how much he wants this.
Okay, I'm not resorting to any national stereotypes. He's just a tired man who's from France.
Interesting. I mean, ace-jack in a vacuum, four-handed, is a very strong hand.
Bodo's instincts have been spot on so far.
I can follow. I can.
Bodo also knows though that he can probably take some others. He doesn't need a big confrontation with ace-5. That's going through his head.
Right now, Bodo's got the best of the situations when nobody is interested, and that's happened quite often.
Fold. Push them in, please. Thank you.
Show it. I chose the second card because I show one card when I push a jack.
Ace jack?
Yes. I push 51. I just show the ace when I raise. A jack is good,
Big blind, please, Remy.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
You want to say if he
Maybe
push
Ramos's
range,
table image was so warped by that hand that he feels like he needs to rebuild it a little bit, and that's, I guess, what he's doing.
Just a little bit weaker.
Fold.
Fraser had a little psychic search of the table. Almost like he's, well, I guess trying to fiddle out a raise size here. But Bodo's chip situation right now, big enough so you're going to have to take on either of the stacks in the blinds with their whole stack. They've only got 15 big blinds, right? If you beat with the 5s on 15 big blinds, c'est la vie.
Raise.
Yeah, I
to
think so.
44,000.
Don't think there's much decision making there. Sometimes it just becomes automatic at a late stage of a tournament.
Ramos trying to find
Fold.
creative answer. And so is Remy.
Fold.
They're both in similar straights, Remy and Ramos. They've both occupied the top dog spot at this table and now have fleas. It's so dramatic from the way they were. I mean, Bichel was the life of the party, Remy. He's a charming guy. He's very funny. Obviously loves poker.
Raise.
And has a very creative game, but
51,000.
it looks like he's struggling to just even sit upright. Poker takes a lot out of you. And if Fraser raises here, can he make Remy fold? Maybe just a forehand like ace-4. I don't think you'd be expecting for Remy to fold very often if you re-raised here, would you?
I don't know, just the button means, you know, they are opening less. He's put 20% of his stack in.
Raise.
And Fraser has come in with the big re-raise. I think we're going to see a confrontation.
And the deciding factor here.
I don't know, ace-4's so bad though. You're in just such bad shape. Against king-queen, you're a flip, but nothing else, you know?
And king-queen is pretty far ahead of Remy's range and dominating quite a few hands.
Queen-queen does well against Remy's range. It's ahead. But
so
ace-4 does terribly against Ian's range. And it's the sort of hand that a good player would just hate to call off with. In this spot.
As Remy, is this just unfortunate for Remy, or because it was ace-4, was there another way to play it, like open shoving, or would that have just been ridiculous?
Well, he only had 16 big blinds or something at the start of the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Things are just working great for Fraser at the moment. Remy's going to look back on those 2 queens, I think, as I mean, it's easy to say because things have gone badly, but
he's really done a lot of great. I mean,
he's done a lot right.
Yeah, I mean he's squeezed a lot of water from his cards. Bichelle. Daniel's in the house.
Fold.
Excited for the main Premier League.
Fold.
How many times are you going to play Daniel this season?
I think 3.
And have you guys played a lot before in tournaments?
Yeah, we played a fair amount of times.
Raise.
I wouldn't say.
200,000.
No, we played quite a few times at the series and the EPTs.
210,000.
Great call he made against me.
Open shove from Ramos. He's got Remy covered. And oh my God, well, Remy can't pass this.
All in.
A bit unfortunate for Felipe.
Well, yeah, he still has the three aces to hit though.
Nice.
And he's got just about 100 or so back. This is Bichelle's tournament life. This is his Premier League shot. This is the smoke for the Brazilian and the Frenchman. Good flop for Bichelle. This could get him back in it. And for Ramos, it's all gone potwards.
Wow, the 8s hold. Ramos is in trouble and Remy's back in the game.
You know,
but that was just a cooler.
It was. But also, it's actually the first time, I can't remember another time when Remy just sort of woke up in a great spot with a big hand. Negreanu, first time entering the Premier League, and been reading his blog, his Twitters. I think he's pretty excited about it. Talking there to the creator of the Premier League, Eddie Hearn.
Fold.
For these 4, guys like Remy and Fraser,
Fold.
what a chance to play in this field. I mean, Ian's been there before, but this time would be even more special. He's the master of timing, Ian Fraser. And, oh, the experience. That means something.
Raises to 40,000.
Fraser's min-raised here from the small blind. And it's the first time he's raised from the small blind to the big blind.
Yeah, I understand. It's kind of weak. Kind of, I don't know, kind of strong.
Call.
I suppose Bodo will be wary. And I will imagine that Ian will win this unless Bodo flops a pair. Comme ci, comme ça.
You can bet once, but then do you bet twice?
You just think that...
50,000.
Can you discount the ace here if you're Bodo?
Yeah, it seems that... I was going to say that it doesn't look like Ian has ace X when he's raising that amount. He's more likely to have a pair.
Yeah, Bodo is way more likely to have an ace right now, isn't he?
Call.
Ian probably knows that. This pot's already 180,000. Put the brakes on, Fraser.
That's an interesting card.
Would you characterize Fraser as a 3-barrel man?
Check.
Yeah, he's a 3-barreler. You haven't seen too many, but he's definitely can do that.
And if Bodo bets here, what exactly is the intention of the bet? Represent the ace?
Check.
That's what I thought.
Such a tricky spot. That's why he's probably checked. Wow.
That's kind of a funny card.
Fraser's going to check for sure, and Bodo's going to bet, and Fraser's probably going to fold.
Check.
And that's the way it should be?
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard.
Bodo's bet here. At 100, I think.
The bet is 100,000.
Thing about Daniel lately, he's taken a few knocks sort of about playing in the high stakes cash games on TV and stuff like that. And I just think that this Premier League suits his abilities so well.
Except it's all good players, and Daniel's someone who thrives against the bad players and has never really beaten the top cash games.
Right, but the Premier League's not a cash game. It is a tournament format.
But he's good against bad players. Like Phil Hellmuth. I don't mean like Phil Hellmuth is a bad player. I mean like Phil Hellmuth is good against bad players.
Can improve my hand, you know.
That's why you see, you know.
That is, I mean, that's
why you see Tom Dwan and Ivy and Patrick in Bobby's room playing the big games, and not Daniel.
It's definitely been the knock against Daniel, but I mean, certainly the Premier League, if he does well here, tournaments are a lot different than cash games, though. I mean, aren't they?
He's a very, very good tournament player. But a lot of the tournament comes from playing bad players. When you have to play good players, it's a different kettle of fish.
Fold.
Wow, Fraser took his time with that. Just trying to get a read on Bodo. But he does lay it down, and Bodo really starting to come to the fore. This action will continue after the break. Welcome back. Roland DeWolf and I watching this one play out. Ever increasing the likelihood that Bodo Zbrezny is going to the Premier League. Now, there's still 4 left, but wow.
Things have gone well for him.
He hasn't gotten caught out either. He has not gotten caught bluffing. And I made those 2 big full houses.
44,000.
Wow.
Wow, disaster for Fraser.
Speak of it. And just this is kind of a cooler, isn't it?
Big cooler.
If there's anything that could save Fraser,
it's a jack.
I just wonder. I mean, Bodo has not done much 3-betting, but
yeah, but at this time, 400.
Right. You feel for the worst, don't you? Wow.
All in.
He moved in?
Yeah.
Wow, that can save Fraser.
Why has he done that? Why is that better than another 3-bet? Doesn't want Fraser to do something crazy with a
small pair.
Right. Is that it?
That could well be it.
And he's willing to take the risk that Fraser doesn't have ace-king.
Wow. Fraser.
He's king.
That's a very good fold. I mean, it was... Whether it's a fold or not, at the end of the day, he knew it straight away. It was calm and clear, and
he's always there or thereabouts. Don't you get this feeling sometimes, Roland, that there's so much more to poker than, you know, the technical parts of the aces and kings?
Well, a lot of it's mental, so
sort of the character.
Raise. 44,000. Fold.
Bodo's raised this sort of late. It's been Bodo and Ian sort of taking turns with swipes. Now, it has been partly stack related and partly hand related.
Fold.
But the result has been that, I mean, Remy and Felipe haven't been allowed to breathe.
Fold.
In particular, Felipe, like, you know, he lost that big pot to Remy, and since then he hasn't even had a look in. He hasn't even had a spot where he can open shove. You can kind of see Felipe saying to himself right now, this is my last under the gun spot. I mean, what are you moving with here?
All in.
That'd certainly be enough for a net.
109.
Plenty good enough to take on
How much? It's 109.
a bag of bones. I've asked for a count.
109
and
total.
It sounds like so little.
Fold.
Can Fraser afford this?
Take the 20 a minute.
I mean, Felipe's passed so many that I guess you'd kind of expect him to have an overcard here, right? So kind of thinking to yourself, you're probably 40, 60.
74.
No, there's more. More. 79.
Of course.
She
No,
calls it
you're
more.
right.
She calls it more.
89. Yes. Excuse me. Call.
And Fraser's going to be happy about this matchup. For the Brazilian, what can he ask for but the hand of God?
That was Argentinian.
Oh, darn, I thought it really was it.
Wow, what a disgusting flop for Ramos.
It really is. You're pretty much, you're sitting there, you're trying to, 6%, really? I'll lay that.
That's it. Spy pair. Even if he'd had aces, he'd be in big trouble.
He did. He played, and as Ian said, and everyone said, he has played great all week. Felipe Ramos came into this the chip leader by virtue of how he did in the earlier matches, and it was his day for most of the day.
Don't worry. I just want to get it over to this side.
We say goodbye to Felipe from the Heat here for the Team Pros, and we are sorry to see you go. You had a big hand against Ian that didn't go your way, and it seemed to kind of take the wind out of your sails a little bit. Does it feel that way?
Yeah, I had a big stack, and after losing the hand, I still had a good amount of chips, like 350,000. And then, yeah, things started going not on my way.
Well, Fraser increases his stature, but the situation is there is no prize for a second, so everybody in the ball game, nothing to lose. Photo pole position. You could not only see any of these three players in the Premier League, you could see any of them winning it. These are three guys who can play poker. And Fraser, under normal circumstances, that's a raising hand. Probably thinking, how often do I get re-raised by these two guys? Pretty often. He might not want to put money in if he can't back up with a call.
Let's have a look.
Call.
I want to look.
That many smiles around. It's pressure.
Raise.
Raise.
The limp in from Bodo and
60,000
Remy
total.
saying, let's
Fold.
get it in or end it now. So strong.
Swing deuce.
No?
Swing deuce.
No.
6-3.
Only a couple more hands left in this 10 and 20,000 level. You know, we're starting to get to that point.
Fold.
Where you're going to see this thing whirling to a conclusion, nitty or gritty, willy-nilly.
Raise is to 60,000.
really, it is the best medicine for Remy Bichel right now, isn't it? Just picking up a couple hands. It's easy to play good cards. Easier to play bad cards. Wow, he's giving him the stare. I mean, he's looking right through him. What a stare! What a 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, luckily, but for Remy, he's got the ace jack.
Fold.
It's not so easy to look at Ian Fraser when you're holding the 6 deuce.
Have you ever had the 1,000-yard stare from
Yeah,
Fraser?
I had it a couple of times. By this stage, they're all thinking, you know, just nick a few blinds and wait for the hands.
30,000 to call.
Because if you just kind of assume that nobody's going to get anything, is your chance that much worse than anything else? Well, Remy's.
No one's made a 3-bet yet in the 3-handed.
Boy, Fraser has just become such a great watcher. He never takes his eyes off Bichel's hands until the bet's in.
To 90,000.
Sorry, Remy.
Do you like to watch people's hands or faces? At the poker table, I mean, of course.
You mean their actual physical hands or their face?
Yeah, the way they move their chips or the way they, you know,
I think
their
that
face.
you should be aware of how they're moving their chips, but you know the face gives away everything.
Do you think Helmuth is capable of reading souls? I mean, he is a great reader, isn't he?
I don't think he's a particularly great reader.
Come on, really?
I mean, I think he's decent, but I mean, there's loads better. Like if you see some of the calls Patrick's made, like in a couple of the ones he made in high stakes poker, one of the ones he made in late night poker.
Cool.
Helmuth is very good against the terrible players, but against world class players. We ever seen Phil Helmuth outplay a world class player in a cash game? Into a deep stack pot?
I haven't seen him in that situation too many times, but I
Yeah.
certainly remember in the last Premier League, he played JC Tran in the heads up, and I thought he beat him pretty bad. JC won, but no, but it was unlucky. I mean, you know, Helmuth got a bit unlucky.
You can play well, Phil, but you know, I wouldn't say
He made an unbelievable call against JC in the heads up of the Premier League. I think he called him with, I think it was like 4th pair, all in, 3 barrels.
I watched the WSOP the other night, and he also called someone. I think it was Antonio. He pulled a very marginal hand, which was no good. He is a good reader, Phil.
So Bichel in the big blind. Remy limped. Bichel checked. And this has gone check bet. It feels pretty straightforward. Is it just that? I mean, what would be the reasoning here for making a play? Sort of like 2 overcards if he doesn't have a king? Or just that every decision is pretty darn serious?
Yeah, and also Bodo, you know, is a cash game player, so he sees the options that you can have when you're deep stacked.
But they're not deep stacked anymore. I mean,
no, exactly. He sees the options,
If I
but knows
bet,
he
you
can't
push.
do it.
If I raise, you push. If you check, if I check, you bet.
He sees all the angles.
If you 3-bet, I
He
found
doesn't have the stones.
3,000.
Not sure.
yeah, they
If you
all
3-bet for
feel,
3,000 to call.
and
with
the
my
blinds
hand,
are big
it's
enough.
impossible for 4.
where you must maximize every hand. You cannot make a mistake. And a mistake is letting an opportunity go by. It's a big hand, ace queen. That's a big hand.
Option. Check.
Wow, the trap check from Remy.
He's actually, he's limped into Fraser's big blind.
Trap limp.
Yeah.
Check.
And has it gone all wrong for Remy?
Not yet.
Did you think Fraser was going to be raising quite often there from the big blind?
Well, he's done it a couple of times.
Yeah, you're right. Did it with the queen 8 before, didn't he?
Such a bad spot now. You can turn the ace queen into a bluff. Try to bet it out for value. You don't really know where you are. You know that the guy's going to be invited to nick it here. It's so hard to call.
He doesn't look it. He hates it. Yeah, that's all you can do right now, right?
Fraser's playing great. Bodo's playing great. They're all playing really well.
Yeah.
Ace queen.
Yeah, it looked like ace queen, I saw it.
Ace queen.
You know, there were 6. There's now 3. They got through half the field.
Remy has sort of weathered an energy storm, and I think he's regained his focus. Hunkered in for the cards here. But he's going to sleep well tonight.
You're going to give him a bedtime story?
No, Matt Barty gives the bedtime stories. You're so elated, aren't you, in these kind of situations, to just look down and see the ace king, because you know you're just, for one hand, you don't have any marginal decisions. You know? As the players take a break, we catch up with the Premier League stars who are itching to get the main event started, and they're already betting on who is going to win.
Okay, Daniel and Roland made teams for a long-term pick, and so you can see the order of the pick. Timoshenko's first, whatever, then JC, and they go back and forth, but it's nice to see who was picked last. Helmut was picked last.
But come on, let's see. What do you want to bet? Okay, I'll give you 6-1 on winning this whole thing, or I'll book you. Your bet, you against me, total points in the prelims, or
8-1.
You'll take 8-1 on winning. I'll give you 6. I don't have to gamble. You're the one that has something to prove.
Tonight we find out which Party Poker Pro will be joining the Premier League lineup, and with 3 fierce competitors still at the felt, it's a race for the last seat in the main event.
Welcome back to Premier League Poker 4 here at the M Resort in Las Vegas. The final table for our Party Poker Pros is in action in the Ravella Bar, so let's get back to it.
Well, it was tense before. Now it's really tense. Just 2 guys to beat to get that seat. And when you are 3-handed, I mean, you want to be the guy that takes out the 3rd player. Uh-oh. You're always looking for the spot to get their chips. And, I mean, if Fraser picks up an ace here...
You hope Ian doesn't find an ace.
You hope for Ian's sake. He hasn't. I don't even think he's looked at his cards yet. He's having a good look at Remy. This is one of the things that Fraser does well. He gets a real idea about things. I mean, he may already have an idea that B-Shell's got something. From a metagame point of view, or whatever, the stack size point of view. Oh, he's going to raise here. Oh my God, he's going to raise here and he's going to get shoved on. Can he make a raise where he can fold to a shove?
Re-raise.
No.
You don't think he's got aces, do you?
80,000.
I wonder if Uh-oh. I think Remy's going to be able to make it about 250 more or so.
It's a train wreck for Ian.
What do you think influenced him here?
I don't know.
All in.
The fact that Remy's range includes a lot of hands that he's not going to call a re-raise with.
This is the second time, Roland, that Remy has 4-bet the Fraser 3-bet light. If you cover up Remy's hand, sorry, but it's not isn't it a bad fold, or is it not a bad fold because of the 400 he has left?
Because of the 400 he has left, it's not a bad fold.
Big knockback for Ian Fraser. That'll wound him, and for Remy Bichel. Starting to feel like it. He could be the guy.
No one expected it to be easy, eh?
Had a little sip of water. There's 2 ways to play this. Lefty or righty. He certainly hasn't given up, and it's just about to double up.
Raise. Fold. 75,000 total.
One thing about Remy, who he's made, I guess, as many sort of weird 3-bets as the rest of everybody else, but I don't know. He just they always seem to work. He hasn't had one go horribly wrong yet. There was the one with the queens, but I could hardly call that horribly wrong. Talk of the $100,000 ticket is all that just talk, because the ticket's really worth more than $100,000. $100,000 is the buy-in, but there's $300,000 added to this tournament, and I think any of 3 of these players, any of the 3, is going to have, I don't know, some equity. That's definitely a raise from the button, and Bodo knows it. The question is how much. Be aware that Fraser has only got an all-in or fold. Fraser is looking like a coiled piranha, isn't he?
Fold.
Wow, 2 4s here for Fraser.
Yeah, okay. That's Ian all in.
That's all there is, right?
Yeah, I mean, anything other, it's pretty clear cut. Anything else would be incorrect.
Now what is Bodo going to do? Sort of presume the price in advance. It's going to be about 350 to win 520.
Raise. $200,000 more.
So it's 200 to win.
It's a huge call for Bodo, because you know it would be a huge call for him to make, because if Bodo loses, that's, you know, Fraser's got enough to hurt him.
So effectively that was just min raise, re-raise, all in pass.
But I keep stacking them up.
And Fraser just sitting up a little taller. You know, up to this point, they've all been allowed to have their little fritter, a little mistake perhaps. Just one hand they would take back, and they're here. If you make a boo-boo now, could be fatal.
Fold, fold.
And this is the Remy we know and love.
Show the deuce. No, impossible. I can't.
What percentage of times would you be raising from the button right now?
I haven't.
Well, a lot of it will be about how much the other players are defending, but I'm going to be opening with probably sometimes the top 70% of hands, other times the top 20 if I've been raising a lot, or, you know, there's no real set formula. But I do appreciate like how much you need to keep the blinds together, and look how bunched the field is now.
Yeah, they've basically all got 600K. I mean, nobody's far from that. Don't you find it amazing that we've had so many big hands out, yet no coolers?
Yeah, it has been pretty sick. I think the aces are hiding, and the kings are out, and it's just really funny.
I mean, it's not what are the odds that there's one of the top 5 hands every hand. It's just really weird that there's one of the top 5 hands and not even anything resembling a card over 10. I'm not moaning.
At some point, someone might start saying, "I'm going to step this up."
Oh.
You know, it all looks so correct because all that's happening is a guy is raising on the button with a monster, and then the big blind's folding nothing. There's JC Tran in the house, the defending champion. He played so good last year.
He did play very well.
Probably, of all the Premier League champions, the most dominating performance, would you say, overall?
Yes, I think so. He was. I mean, he's the only one to lead the heats and then win the tournament. So.
Yeah, in Premier League One, Helmuth did have just an absolute. He was completely dominating in the league tables, in the heat stages, but then sort of petered out in the final table. I think he won the first 4 heats on the trot that year.
Raise.
Tony the next year.
Yeah, Tony and Andy Black both won. I think between them 5 of the first 6 heats. Yeah.
76,000 fold.
What did JC Tran do that was so different?
I think he just played all the situations so well. He didn't make any mistakes. He mixed it up very well. He had the right balance between calling, when people were bluffing him, and making the moves at the right time. His timing was spot on. His hands were good.
This sort of philosophy that he has, the big hand he had against Dwan when Dwan bluffed him out. He laid down, I think it was jacks full of aces or something. Sort of the idea that he'd rather make a bad fold than a bad call. Is that Premier League-like?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt you always too much to make laydowns as much as it will hurt you to call off chips.
Hello! And these are going in. Oh my gosh.
Wow. If Fraser was the big blind and Resney was the button and Beaker was opening, then he'd get all the chip.
Bodo's not going to get his chips in. I mean, because Fraser cannot smooth call here. It would be suicidal, wouldn't it?
The only thing is that last time he was seen to re-raise fold. You remember last time Ian re-raised folded with the Jack 9.
50,000 on top. A total of 240.
Kind of an easy pass for Bodo, or kind of an opportunity to try and win it?
I think it's an easy pass.
I mean, there is certainly B-Shell could have nothing, and Fraser could have ace under, right? But that doesn't happen often enough.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jesse. It doesn't. happen often enough to be enough of the part of the range.
And Bichel's in the tank. How is this different than all the other times Fraser's come over the top of him?
Well, he hasn't done it that many times. He's done it recently, and that probably makes it less likely that he's bluffing now.
Making some more contortions.
You know, there's a lot of fold equity here, if you've seen Fraser pass before. But then he's only got 279. He's put half his stack in. This is the thing. So there isn't that much fold equity.
Maybe it was just under the line. Ace-7, Ace-8 might have felt different. Who knows? And for Fraser, God, is he back in this again?
He's chip leader.
Hello. Wow. Could the Razor be going back to the Premier League? I mean, look at this. It's anybody's game three-handed. There's nothing in it to be in that main event. Meanwhile, the Premier League stars wait in the wings, and there's a battle of the egos, with Phil Hellmuth claiming to be the best Texas Hold'em player in the world.
You say that you're the best Hold'em player in the world by far. And I know that Phil Ivey's pretty good. I know Patrick's pretty good. I know Durr's pretty good.
No, but
I know this guy's pretty good. I know she's pretty good. And I know that when you say that, you either are lying or you really believe it.
I believe him.
He really does believe it.
Yeah,
You can book me in every Hold'em thing I do on the internet.
I am booking you. I'm trying to book
No,
you.
on everything I do on the internet. You can book me in all the high stakes games, all the tournaments, everything I do on the internet. You can book me in Hold'em.
Well, I want to see what you're playing up against. Obviously, you can beat some random. Maybe you play with your sister head up and then screw you know what I mean? I want to see who you're playing against. If it's Bob Safai, that's one thing.
I played Joe.
Right, I mean, what are you just gonna play like? You're gonna play four-handed with Russ Hamilton and fucking those guys?
I'll take it. Let's bet.
You get a group of guys that you think can beat me, and we'll play Limit Hold'em.
But like a ring game?
Yeah,
That's easy to do.
6-handed.
God, I can just freaking call my friends from Toronto. They'll like, this is a juicy opportunity. Right? Timoshenko, you ever played Limit Hold'em? Never? It's okay, I'll teach you.
Wide open, and shouldn't it be? Shouldn't it be for these stakes? Hopefully, the player here who tries the hardest, plays the best, and wants it the most will end up in the Premier League, because that's what the Premier League deserves. 20 big blinds for Bodo.
5-20.
About 16 for Remy. This feels awkward.
5-20. After.
Is it too many to shove, and is it too many, too few to raise and fold? You might limp. I'm trying to. Yeah, phew. What are you going to do, Bodo?
Raise.
I think he's gone for about a min raise.
To 80,000 total.
Min raise and pray. Every hand's got possibilities. To the and every hand fraught with danger.
You got 60.
Couldn't be closer.
30,000. Yes.
Yellow chips have probably come off the table. The blinds are going to hit 20 and 40,000, and wow, there's not going to be much in it. Has Bresny, in your mind, kept up the pressure? Has he kept up the sort of the quality of his game?
I think so. I think that
Raise.
you know, he's sort of maintained his stack. He hasn't increased it, but just that's situational more than
66,000
anything.
total.
I know it's ace-5, but can't stand a re-raise, can it? Two bet feels so vulnerable.
It always is in these situations.
Fold.
You know how.
But who is going to be the first to start shoveling their stack in?
Right, just to make the mad raises.
To get, you know, to get to a million.
Yeah. You do it twice, you're there.
I mean, they're either going to be opening 20, 40, they're open for 100, yeah. You know, opening for 85 even. Plus the blinds.
Don't they call it maniac math? The math that leads you to be a maniac?
They probably do call it that.
They should,
What
shouldn't
does
they?
Isaac Haxman call it? He knows this stuff better than me.
Calls it controlled salivation.
Bodo Subotny, Subresny.
Wow, first walk.
Oh. And the blinds are going up to 20 and 40,000 now, Roland.
Yeah, it's no one's got 10 big blinds.
It's really going to come down to who obviously get big cards, but it's dog or die. We'll be back for more after the break. It has been so good, so tight, so well played, so competitive that you wish they could roll the blinds back to 1 in 2,000, but they won't. What they will do is carry on. 45 big blinds in play right now, and basically 15 big blinds a man. This is it. This is where it's all going to happen for the ticket to the Premier League. Maybe it's better this way. Maybe it's good that it all comes down to guts and Remy's got some. 3-7.
Raise.
And with 15 big blinds, can you raise and fold? I guess you can if you got a 3-7.
60,000. Oh, excuse me, 110,000.
There's no way Fraser can call here.
Fold.
He knows that. Remy Bichel clearly showing that he knows there's no prize for second and no excuse to wait for cards. That's for chumps, not champions. Hard to say which of these three would fare the best in the Premier League. Easy to say any of the three are going to be well suited to the mix. 10 of the greatest players on the planet, plus an online qualifier,
Raise.
an upstart Giovanni Safina. And Remy has gone supernova.
90,000.
2 pots, 2 raises, 2 times picking up 60,000.
Fold.
That's all it took.
No good?
No good.
1 time without a hand, 1 time with one. All of a sudden, he's built himself a second chance. A chance to take out a player and still have a slight breath of life if it all goes wrong. Playing 3-handed. You pass 9 hands in a row. Don't let the door hit you on your way out. Fraser's already passed 2, and that's a nice little wake-up call. I think what he'll do is try and
Raise.
show
100,000.
that he's capable of passing, but he ain't. That's gonna be tempting for Bichel. Just like that now, Bodo gets himself in trouble. He's the only one who hasn't taken a pot this level. But he is first to speak on the button.
Big blind, please.
Is he like the rest of them? Does he think that he can put a little bit in and still have enough to play for the rest? Or is he just going to shove them? With that hand, shoving might be the best. got too much. It's got. Wow.
Raise. Raises to 90,000.
Michelle's going all in. Sure as Christmas. And Bodo might not be able to fold. That hand's got a lot of equity, 10 Jack of Hearts.
All in.
I don't know if Bodo can pass this.
Fold. Fold.
Nice pass. Remy Bichelle. 2 raises, 1 re-raise. And he has hit nearly the magic number of half the chips in play. That's how it happened. Allez. These guys got their poker faces on. The likes of Negreanu, Tran, and DeWolf await them in the wings. He's definitely watching Ian look at his cards. Wow, that's a opinionated fold.
Thank you. Call.
I mean, Roland, you want to make a bet small enough so that if Fraser has got sort of a hand he wants to just push with, he thinks he can do it.
120,000.
Oh, Ian. Wow. That's a curveball. There's 240,000 in the pot, and I wonder if Fraser's playing stop and go here. He may shove in a whole bunch of flops. Certainly that one. You can't check and you can't fold now, can you? There's nothing else to do. Just having a thought. The 3 hearts make it no fun.
100,000.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of the worst flops you can get with a black ace queen, isn't it? And yet, still might have equity.
Should push pre-flop.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That's what he wishes he had done. I think it's because he never considered that Fraser could just call. He never considered it. Who would? Didn't look like Ian could. That may have been the end runaround that wins him this table. And I mean, it might not have even been a mistake, but for Bodo, that hand, that's put him in the bum seat. These are 3 cool guys, and I don't think I've ever seen any of them so tense.
Fold.
This is just all in.
All in.
How much?
It's about half of Remy's stack, so he could. Well, I don't think he's looked yet, but he might call with a lot of hands.
280.
Ah. So bad. 10-5.
It was 360.
1 king.
340, 50, 60.
It's okay. That's it.
Yes.
Photos in the stew pot, but he's not getting called, is he? And there's 60,000.
Nice.
Or 40 anyway, plus the small blind.
7, 8.
You know it's all going to go off. Bodo in the big blind. He folded King 7 suited the last time from there. guess the idea is if you fold, good chance of the others playing a pot.
65,000.
Maybe it was just timing.
No, excuse me.
11.
Miscount. 115,000.
And
Raises to 115,000.
Bodo's got 340 back, so he could make it 225 more.
Fold.
It's not with those. So, I mean, is there any excuse to fold a hand from the button?
Yeah, I mean, in the bottom of your range, I think that you can find hands to fold. It's not that difficult.
And the other excuse that if you do fold, the others are more likely to play a big pot? I mean, right now, if Fraser were to fold here, Bodo has to shove a lot of the times.
For sure. I think that's got to be a consideration. You don't really want to be inviting the other. I don't think you want the other two to be playing a big pot. That's my personal opinion. I think that you want to be in any pot.
And King 10 is big, certainly big enough.
And this is kind of like, you know, in some of the formats you see where someone goes through. It's so difficult if you knock out the third person.
Raises to 85,000.
Oh, that's marginal. It's going to be really high up to find a spot that's not marginal right now, isn't it? What would you do?
I mean, Ian has been folding some buttons here. So Bodo, I mean, he's already shown that he doesn't have such a strong hand, Bodo. Like, they give away some stuff.
Fold.
But he's just so much hate in life if Ian finds an ace.
Yeah, ace deuce is disgusting.
The most famous ace deuce in my memory is John Duthie, who made it look like an absolute monster. It's probably the last person to call off all his chips with ace deuce and make it look like £1 million. And because Bodo folded that one, he now has just 8 big blinds. And would that be considered the bottom 1% of your range?
Well, it's gone card dead.
Yeah, that's the worst hand. So.
Just checking. Well, the one really going to be delighted, Remy, about playing a big pot with Ian. He's probably thinking of folding if Ian raises. If it all comes down to reads,
which it doesn't at this stage.
You
can't read at this point. It's just, you know, you're playing the cards so much.
Remy's gotten a couple through on the small blind. He's gotten the 3-7 offsuit through, and now the King 5. Although, I guess King 5 is kind of a big hand in that spot. This is genuine pressure.
Fold.
They're all handling it well, but genuine pressure. Oh, that's a big hand. Now, do you shove?
Yeah, you shove.
Against Bodo's 7 big blinds back, 1 big blind in.
Nice.
There is...
He's probably going to be sick because He knows now that like he has no fold equity. Whatever he finds. Wow, that's like the sickest of all you could find.
But Bodo was calling anyway, right?
I mean, he's not folding the deuces,
All
but
in.
it is disgusting.
Call.
I don't like my 8. No, no 8s.
Take 9.
He's past the deuce.
2 deuces.
So,
I think I cannot fold anymore.
couple of blockers out there.
This is it.
Good luck.
And it's pretty much who the deck likes. Fraser's got 300,000 back. Bodo's got nothing. There's the ace. Oh, the 8-2. Dead man's hand.
It's 1 out for Bodo. We saw Dragon ride the 1 out express earlier. Oh, wow.
Lucky, buddy.
Oh, wow.
And this man,
Good luck.
Bodo Sprezny, this young man, he's a poker player.
That's what it said on his sheet.
It's really disappointing to see you go. We've got 2 players left, obviously. We've got Remy, we've got Ian. Who do you think would be best going through to the Premier League?
I think it's so close, you cannot say who would do better. And now Ian has a chip lead, and they have like 15 to 30 big blinds, and I think he will use it really well, and then it's hard for Remy to reach the final.
Okay, well, thank you very much for talking to us. Thanks.
The chance of a lifetime only gets closer. More poker after the break.
Welcome back to the final table for the Party Poker Team Pros. We've reached the heads-up stages. 2 players are left, but only 1 can go through. So who will make it into the final 12 for the Premier League main event?
This is awesome. Ian Fraser, a road to redemption here, Roland DeWolf, trying to get to the Premier League. And Remy Bichel, I don't know if anybody knew Remy could play this good but him.
Crazy man.
Maybe not even him.
Just 2 now for the 1 seed. Look at these stats. Nothing in it with the chips. Fraser with the slight lead, but Bichel's been more aggressive and has won more pots. How do you like your all or nothings? These ones won't be over easy. Well, if you beat the man sitting across from you, you're in the middle of a $1.5 million prize pool. If not, you get nothing. I can't think of a bigger bubble in poker.
Ian doesn't be limping too much.
Call.
That hasn't turned out. And why? I mean, why is it going to be a bad strategy for him?
Because, you know, he needs to be putting pressure on Remy in the position. You know, that's the best strategy for heads up.
40,000.
If Remy wants to be able to re-raise him, that's fine, but limping doesn't achieve that much at this stage.
And what about peeling off flops out of position?
I think that should be avoided at all costs.
Sort of the seminal hand that Fraser took Bodo down in just minutes ago, 3-handed, was sort of calling a raise out of position. Didn't seem like it would be possible to do that, but he did.
Call.
You know, and the blinds are going to go to 30-60 at some point if that's possible. There ain't much here.
Raise.
You gotta like this.
I like it.
Got to.
Have to. No choice.
120,000.
How much?
120,000.
I wonder what Remy's going to do.
And I mean, it's just sort of the idea, isn't it, that you must really win every pot you possibly can.
But you can't bleed away chips either.
Shoving wouldn't be bad here, would it?
Because we can see the hands, but I don't.
Other than that.
I mean, against his range,
right?
It's not probably profitable.
And this is kind of big. This kind of feels like a bit of a luck of the flop.
Check.
Does Remy now win? Is he just going to tank in?
Ian doesn't want to make 7s up with 4. That's a real blank.
Would Fraser bet here with the ace?
probably
120,000
protect his
is the
hand
bet.
against overs.
So these guys trying so hard to win, but stacks are so shallow. There's nowhere to maneuver.
I mean, Remy knows he's not good, but it looks like Ian's betting for value here. Maybe Remy's thinking of calling with the 4, 5, or 6 to be good. Calling 120 into 240 can't really be done.
Key pot. And the Razor. He's been so confident throughout this whole ordeal. Just always said he was going to be the one. He's very close to being the one. Is it time to shut the door? Just shove him in?
Call.
Feels kind of odd. Call.
He's probably limp re-raising. He likes to do that, Ian.
I think Remy's about to double up.
Raise.
Oh. But I think Ian's hand is too strong.
I'm all in.
That's pretty much it. All in. And Fraser's going to have about 500K back.
Nice. Persimmon, please.
But Bichelle, he's going to have like 2/3 of the chips in play if the nines hold.
Fraser for the Premier League.
The ace!
So sick.
Fraser for the Premier League. He's back. One card for glory. He's in. And that's how bad he wanted it.
Sorry, man. No problem.
The agony of defeat for Remy Bichelle, but for Fraser, new life.
Well, Ian Fraser is already a champion and he's about to go into the Premier League. You were there for the first 2 seasons, didn't get the call last season, and now you fought your way back in. You must feel amazing.
Right, yeah. I didn't deserve a call back, you know, and this is the backdoor thing. I mean, I've joined Party Team and I've come through. I'm on it. I'm absolutely over the moon. You know, it's beautiful.
So Ian Fraser through to the Premier League, and we have our complete lineup. Join us next time for our first league match featuring JC Tran, Vanessa Russo, Phil Locke, Yevgeny Timoshenko, Luke Schwartz, Roland DeWolf, Daniel Negreanu, and of course, Ian Fraser. Coming up next time on Party Poker Premier League Poker 4.
Remember how we do it back in the old days? Who's my raise with king 7 off when I've got aces? Just doesn't make any sense.
You kids today.
Bubblegum Schwartz, we're supposed to be chewing gum. Just end it, it's too sick.
And the biggest fight in Premier League so far.
Don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. Yeah!